Test. 2024 meeting of the Danville City Council. Madam Clerk, roll call to establish the quorum, please.
Mayor Ricky Williams Jr.,
Present.
Alderman Ed Butler,
Present.
Heidi Wilson, Carolyn Wands, James Bouchard,
Present.
Mike O'Kane,
Here.
Bob Iverson,
Present.
Mike Poore,
Present.
Rick Streebing,
Here.
Sherry Pickering,
Here.
Eve Ludwig,
Present.
Tricia Teague,
Present.
Robert Williams, Darren York,
Here.
John Cooper,
Here.
12 present.
12 present, we do have a quorum. At this time, we will have the invocation led by the Honorable Felix Velasquez, Director of the Vermilion County Restoration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Alderman O'Kane. Please rise.
Father, we thank you that in the city council, we come before you for wisdom or for guidance. Father, I thank you for every member represented here, God. Father, thank you that Danville chooses to stand as a city that knows change comes through you, Lord. Father, I pray for wisdom, Lord. I pray for direction, and I pray for guidance for our city. Father, thank you. We love you. We praise you. And it is in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Director Velasquez. Could you please just give us an update on some of the things that have been going on at the mission?
Yeah, so I don't know if you guys are aware, we rebranded, if we will. So we're no longer called the Danville Rescue Mission. We're called VCR, which stands for Vermilion Community Restoration. And one of the things that has kind of changed is that at some point there was a breakdown in the discipleship program, and it was just men in transition, if you will. Since I have come along and partnered with the board and different aspects of VCR, we've started a discipleship program. That means men that don't have any type of direction of where they're going. We sit with them and we do counseling, we do update on their files, we do case management. Carl has actually partnered with us, and they have an advocate that comes on Thursdays, and they do mental health assessment, and they help with whatever screening the men may need. Another piece that will be soon to be implemented is called a Restart for Men in Transition. And what that looks like is we will be offering anywhere between 60 to 90 days of men who are working, and for some reason they're homeless. We will have a different room set up in the second floor for them, and their qualifications would be that they have to save $300 plus a week. All their expenses are being taken care of in 60 days, in 90 days. Some of these guys, if they follow what we're suggesting, could walk out of there with about $4,500, where they can restart their lives, get an apartment, a car maybe, and stuff that they would need. On the other side of the spectrum, we walk into a building that hasn't been maintained for a long time, and there's struggles and hurdles there, but we move forward, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will. I know the city has given us a grant for some electrical stuff, and that it was very much needed. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Director, I just want to say thank you for the work that you and the volunteers do down at the mission. We appreciate you all.
Yeah, and thank you guys for being so supportive of us. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. At this time, we have the minutes of the January 2nd meeting. Is there a motion to approve those?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you. You also have an agenda for the evening. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Now, time for my report. I do not have any proclamations or board, committee, or personnel appointments. Are there any reports of boards, agencies, or commissions at this time?
Yes, Mayor, I just want to thank you and the council members, as well as department heads and division heads, for your support of the King celebration. It went very well. I'm very happy to say the ones who were there, you can see that Mary Thompson was very elated to get the recognition that she got it. I saw her today. She is still gleaming about yesterday's event. So again, thank you all for your support.
Administrator, I just want to take a moment to thank you and the committee for all the work that you did. It was honestly, they're always enjoyable, but I thought it was an especially inspiring event. Minister Reverend Kirk McKenzie gave a really challenging and inspiring speech, basically entitled "Use What You've Got." How we've got to take whatever it is, we've got to stop belittling our gifts and use them for not only for ourselves but for the greater good and to help and serve others. So. We just appreciate it, and we had a great time. So thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I do not have any items of information at this time, so we will receive petitions, communications, and audience comments. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mayor. Has everyone had a chance to complete a yellow card who wishes to speak this evening? Okay, all of the cards that I've received are pertaining to item 8A, the ordinance for the zoning petition. The first one I have is Dustin Wells of rural Hoopston. Do you want to come to the podium, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
So I am not a resident of Danville, but I own property next to this area that is petitioned for rezoning. And my parents live there at 16857 West Newell Road, better known as the Yellow House across from Menards. Okay, and so that's where my folks have lived for the last 20 years. I just want to bring up 3 issues, and I'm speaking in opposition to this change of zoning. The first issue is this, the question of the noise that will be produced by it. The fire chief was very kind and has made assurances to us that the noise level will be as low as they can get it to be. But the problem is that sometimes things are based on perception rather than reality. At some future time, if we ever try to sell that property, a potential buyer is going to look at it and they're going to say, wow, there's a fire station, there's a noisy fire station right next to this. And so one of the reasons we're opposed to it is because at some point in the future, we could be losing money off of this. And I think that if any of you were in that situation, that you would want to take reasonable measures to keep something like that from happening. The second point that I had was that it was stated at the zoning meeting when we were there that truthfully the station has to be next to something. It has to be next to something or somebody or someone. But as I've been thinking about it, you know, Newell Township and the Bismarck Fire Protection District has a lot of wide open land. And I don't really understand why it is absolutely necessary to put the station right next to a residence when there could be another place that's a little bit further out from a house that station could go. And then the third issue that I had that was brought up, and I asked this at the zoning meeting, you know, what's the long-range plan here? What is this part of a plan? What can we expect for this area in the future? And it was stated that the city of Danville is right at the end of a long-range plan and is getting ready to start a new long-range plan. And if that's true, I question the wisdom of making any kind of zoning decision, especially in an area where we're right across from Menards, we're right across from Walmart. Are you really going to make a zoning decision to put something like this, which the fire station is going to be permanent? It'll be there forever. And it's another governmental body, owned by another governmental body, not by a private residence. Is it really wise to change the zoning and put something in here when you don't know for sure if it's going to fit in your plan? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Kenneth Wells of rural Danville.
As you probably know, that was my son that just was speaking. But I'm gonna live right next door, right? The property line is on my property line. And I am concerned about the noise. I'm concerned about, the wildlife, because we have deer and turkey and everything right in our backyard. I'm concerned about, the fence row between us. And I'm concerned about the drainage also. I'm totally against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Jake Wright of rural Danville.
Yes, my name is Jake Wright. I'm the Assistant Chief with Bismarck Fire Department. And just kind of quick reason why is the piece of property that we got was donated to us. If you take that location, it's kind of right in the middle of our southern part of our district. Of all the calls that we have received, that's kind of right in the middle. So it's kind of a perfect location for us to respond to calls in our district. Our district goes from basically Boiling Springs north, and then Bowman over to the state line, south to Winter. So no matter where we build, we'll be here asking for rezoning because we're in that 1.5 mile buffer zone, pretty much anywhere for our southern part of our district. Once again, it was right in the middle of all the calls. Locations, so we figured that was a good place to start, kind of looking in that area, and then with the land being donated, that helped out financially for us as well. Any concerns in the future, you know, we can talk about that. The noise, we only run about 100 calls out of that station, so I don't think it's going to be bad. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Wright.
That's all I have.
Is there anyone else who wishes to address the council this evening? Seeing none, we have item 8A, a zoning petition, which is an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance and accompanying map thereto for petitioner Bismarck Community Fire Protection District, zoning petition number 295. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Yes.
I didn't have any until all this, but are we voting on this because it's in our 2.5 mile area, 2.5 mile area?
1.5
It's not in
miles.
1.5, okay.
That's correct,
It's not in
yes.
city limits, right?
It's not in the city limits, no, sir.
If he builds this thing, will he follow our regulations and everything as far as drainage and all that or not?
Yeah, so building code, they won't have to follow under the city standards, but Sam just assured me that they will be following the stormwater drainage ordinance by the city of Danville.
And are you planning on any buffers between you and the neighbor?
Mr. Wright, could you please come to the podium for me? Thank you.
Yes, there is a hedgerow or tree line, and in the planning, the preliminary planning, we either will put a fence or add new trees that are more year-round, like evergreens, to block the view, block wind, block noise, but to keep that a little bit nicer than what it is now with just whatever trees are there, but something that is more year-round, full year-round.
And I would hope any concerns that these guys have, you'll address.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we want to be great neighbors. So any concerns, you know, in the future, we'd love to talk to them, work with them on a solution, on a plan, everything like that.
That's all I have.
Yes, Alderman York.
You have a question for Mr. Wright?
Yes.
Okay, and you noted that there's roughly 100 calls. What's the frequency, like 100 calls within what time span?
It varies. A majority of our calls, I would say, were 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. would be our busiest.
Okay, and when you identify the 100 calls, over what time span, like, within what amount of time?
A
Like
year.
Oh, okay.
A year,
Within
because we ran 445 calls, I believe, last year. A majority of them ran out of Bismarck, because that's where our ambulance is stationed. That's where a majority of our personnel are stationed out of. So of those 445 calls roughly, I would say around 100 of them we responded out of our Lake Boulevard, our southern station, which this is replacing.
Yes, Alderman Cooper.
Logan, this is for you, I guess. The property's a blue one. Is, these people live in the 16857 one?
Directly to the east.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And this would be a secondary fire station, I imagine, right? You're going to keep one in Bismarck and this one, or is this going to be your main one?
We'll keep the one in Bismarck. We have a station currently on Lake Boulevard, which is the road just north of Carmack Car Capital. We have a station down there, and this is to replace that station.
Okay.
Chairman Poor.
Logan, this is for you too. This is all zoned agriculture on the north side of east-west Newell Road, right?
Yeah, and there might be a couple of places where it's rural residential, A or B, rural residential or ag. Yeah.
Okay. I know years ago, and no one can prove it or not, but there was a gentleman's agreement that the city would never go across Newell Road to the north for any development of any kind. That's been a controversy for years, but so regardless, that would have to be zoned for anything like that, any new development or anything. I know we've been approached before by individuals that wanted that area rezoned for various things, but it goes back to Mayor Jones's time when Walmart was coming in, that a gentleman's agreement was reached between the city and Bismarck and the fire district and things, that we would not go beyond east-west Newell to the north side. So I just wanted to clarify that was still all agriculture and stuff, would have to be rezoned regardless of any kind of development that would, like this, or any business or anything else. And then your funding, does this have to go for a referendum vote or anything by Bismarck to, who's gonna finance your fire station?
We'll finance it through current tax revenue.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Teague.
Has there been any discussion on what might happen if this did not pass city council? I'm just curious.
We come up with plan B. We're at plan, I don't know what plan. We've been doing this for about 5 years, kind of coming up with a plan on where to go, what to do. So it would just go back to the drawing board and try to figure somewhere else out.
Okay, so right now there is no contingency plan?
No,
Okay.
no.
Alderman Butler.
And so by changing this zoning, would that affect any other companies that want to come in and do something of a sort? I know it's zoned for business. I expect right now there's a sense Menards, and that's the other side. Yeah.
Logan, this would be just for the blue
Yeah.
that blue outline parcel that the fire station would be on.
Alderman Butler, the north side of Newell is not zoned for business right now. The parcel that is being subdivided out on this petition is being requested to be rezoned to neighborhood business, which was recommended because that's the least invasive rezone, just in case the fire station doesn't exist for an extended period of time. So just this property is the subject property for rezone.
Yes, Vice Chairman Pickering.
And again, this property was donated to the
Yes.
Bismarck district, so that's a big chunk of money right there.
Yes, yes.
Alderman Cooper.
No, I understand what you're saying, you give me part. Are we opening up a door here? If we do this one, or we're probably gonna have others, I'm sure, come in front of us, I would imagine. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, This is a pretty niche and specialized petition, I believe. I think we have to look at each one on a case-by-case basis. If another Walmart wants to build across the street, I guess we'd look at that a little bit differently. You know, I think we have to look at it petition by petition. Fire station is more public than private. It is public versus private, so I think we have a really good justification to look at this differently than any other commercial business or any other business for that matter.
Well, it looks like there's quite a bit of land there.
They're only we've got the petition set up to only rezone the 2.2 acres.
Well, I understand that,
Yeah.
but you look at this sheet you gave us, there's quite a bit of opportunity for further, I guess.
For
is
sure.
what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's something we'd have to, you know, deal with if it did come down the line.
And then Mike, on yours, I guess if it's on the northern part of Newell, I mean, that's just a gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, that's where we can never find any record of it.
Well, Alderwoman Wands.
I would be interested to know if you think it will affect traffic coming from Menards and Walmart. And I go out to Menards quite a lot, and that's a very busy road.
Affected as far as
The fire engines coming and going and
Traffic. And
traffic.
I personally don't think it'll affect it as from our end. It'll be a little bit safer for us because right now, like I said, we're almost all the way down on Boiling Springs. So now we're coming through a neighborhood pretty much on every call to get to Vermillion to respond to calls unless if it's in that specific neighborhood. This kind of gets us out of there onto a main road, easier to get to other locations in our district. So from our perspective, it's a little bit better getting the trucks out and everything. As far as the traffic on the road, I
You
don't
mentioned
think.
most of the calls you thought would be between 6 and 9, and that's pretty much the hours that those businesses are open. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, for the short amount of time pulling out, pulling in wouldn't be an issue, but the pulling out maybe a little bit, but I don't think anything major.
Alderman Pritchard.
Yeah, how many fire stations do y'all have?
Currently, we have 3. We have one in Henning, one in Bismarck, and then one on Lake Boulevard.
Yeah, you're going to shut the Lake Boulevard down?
Yes.
For what reason?
Right now, it is a 2-car garage that doesn't have a bathroom, and the trucks are getting bigger, and we want to get eventually space for a bigger engine, bigger trucks, because they're not making them any smaller.
Yeah.
Something newer with a bathroom, just a laundry list of reasons why.
When I first heard of this location, I thought it was an ideal location since y'all are kind of spread out like so and then back down, but I agree with them also on the home. I wouldn't want a fire station next to my house, but I know there's a lot of pros and cons on all of it.
No. I mean, all I can say with that is we're not Chicago, we're not New York, running all the time. We're here and there, like I said, it was like 100 calls out of that station last year. So, I don't think will be a big change in scenery or a change in noise or disruption or anything like that with the few calls that we do run out of that station.
Vice Mayor.
I'm doing the math on it. That's less than 1 every 3 days. I have a question for Chief Marcotte, which is, do you happen to know, you probably don't off the top of your head, but the analyst in me is calculating. Would you happen to know how many calls we get out of the Vermillion Street station?
Yeah, we're around 1,000 a year out of that station, 1,000 to 1,200, 1,400.
Okay, so we have 14 times as many on a much busier street. So I think I just wanted to be able to juxtapose the numbers that he's talking about to what we already have, which is also very nearby and much busier because you're talking about 4-lane versus 2-lane. State route versus not state route. So, okay, I think that just helps, I think, give context.
Well, I don't want to speak for Bismarck too, but most modern fire station designs include a setback that gives you that ability to recognize the fire truck before they enter the roadway and stuff. I'm assuming Bismarck, they did that with their Bismarck station, so I assume they'll do it like with this station. But
living on a main thoroughfare now that's a main ambulance route, I understand your concerns, Mr. Wells. I do. At the same time, though, we have to take a look at the whole picture. And, you know, there are a lot of people who need and use these services. And as he said, right now they're flying through a neighborhood right now anytime they have to help somebody, which creates a lot more danger in and of itself, you know. So I would hope that if the shoe were on the other foot and we had to request help from another municipality, Bismarck in this case, that they would help us. And I hope that we can, although I know it will create some inconvenience, I do hope that we can do the same. Yes, Alderman Butler.
Yeah, thanks, you know, Mr. Mayor. I had that same question there too about the correlation of, you know, Danville and, you know, Bismarck, you know, kind of helping one another out in that end in case, you know, our Vermilion, you know, happen to have an accident there trying to get up north, where they, you know, do we kind of correlate with each other and, you know, as far as communication, you know, like, for example, if Menards caught fire.
Chief, we have mutual aid, don't we?
yeah, we do. Primarily with Bismarck, it's usually medical related when our ambulances are out of service. But it is in the plan if we don't have the firefighters available to us, call them to assist us. But that initially would still be just a Danville response to Menards, whatever. And we'll just down to time.
Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams, York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes, yeah.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. You have before you item 9, approval of payrolls for January 5th and 12th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve those?
So move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Vice Mayor Teague,
Yes.
Alderman Williams, York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. Item 10 is approval of the vouchers payable. We have vouchers for January 9th and 16th, 2024, as well as a special run of January 10th, 2024. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Williams, York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries. At this time, I will turn it over for the heavy lifting to our Public Works Committee report. Chairman Four.
Thank you, Mayor. 11A is a resolution authorizing a budget amendment to the fiscal year 23-24 Public Affairs 013 budget. Move to suspend with the reading and ask for your approval. Need a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Alderman York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler, Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams, 12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries.
11B is a resolution authorizing repair of traffic signals and associated infrastructure at the intersection of Bowman Avenue and Voorhees Street and amending the fiscal year 23-24 Fund 107 Infrastructure Development budget. Move dispense to reading and ask for your approval. Need a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Yes, Alderman Cooper.
It just sort of seems like one thing's led to another on this thing, so what's going on?
Yep.
Yeah, one thing has led to another on this one. We had a semi damage 2 traffic signals at this corner of the intersection, completely wipe out one, structurally damage the post of the main mast arm on the other. They can't be repaired and basically need to be replaced. We can't replace them in their current location for reasons of foundation impacts, as well as they don't meet current codes and aren't ADA compliant. They basically block the whole sidewalk. So it snowballs into, we have to do ADA upgrades and curb ramps and relocate the pole. So yes, it did. It definitely snowballed. So we are estimating, we're hoping about half of it's covered by insurance, and then the other half is going to be city work that's kind of beyond that immediate corner where we resolve handicap accessibility issues along this gas station frontage.
But did the semi, I assume it got caught. I mean,
It drove off. We were able to get traffic footage. I think Agnell's team and the DPD were able to find that information out. We found the company, and we do have information to file a claim against. So,
okay, so you're looking on the claim, you're wanting damages for traffic signals and
traffic signals and the foundation, which we have to replace. We can't just repair them. And then because it's like a code upgrade in a house, like if you have a fire in your house, you can't rebuild to the electric to the old standard, right? You have to come up to current code. So the pavement and the sidewalk work right in that immediate area, we're asking them to cover because we have to do it. That's the trigger. Otherwise, we wouldn't be, doing that right now in this fashion. So we didn't feel like we should stretch it beyond that immediate area. We're trying to be, fair about the situation and not take advantage of it, but need to make it right too.
We have to do it. Why? Because
as far as the repair,
ADA.
Oh yeah, it's federal law basically that we have to do it. So there is very clear court cases and rulings that dictate that when we do this specific thing, we have to come up to code. If we don't, then yeah, we're definitely subject to litigation and need to be working that direction anyway.
And how long was that arm going to have to be?
It's going to be 60 feet because we don't have very much right of way there. So to avoid all the other utilities and the other items, 60-foot long arm, and the foundation's 42-inch diameter, 21 feet deep in the ground. So not our favorite spot, and we have limited things we can do because there's open leaking underground storage tank cases on that site right next to it. So we really don't want to do a bunch of work on their property at the same time.
And how long is the lead time?
They're saying, I can't remember what I said, 22 weeks. Or it's a while, 3 to 6 months, I think was approximately it. So yeah, we want to get this. It's taken us a little while just to even figure out how we can do this and meet code within all the constraints. Normally we would just call a contractor, get repairs, but because of all the moving pieces, it's probably taken a month just to sort all this out.
And when did this? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
And when did this happen?
That's I don't have the exact date. I want to say it was late November. It might have been more than a month to sort it all out. So, yeah, it was probably around Thanksgiving. It's if you're headed east, you would see it. So if you're on Voorhees Street headed east, yeah, it actually knocked it's dented the pole, and then one of the signal lights, which would be like the one that's used for the left turn lane normally, fell off in this, and we're not even comfortable putting that. I don't think that if we mounted it back, it would like magically fall down, but we have a structurally damaged pole that we don't want to put additional weight on and then have it collapse or something in a wind. So normal conditions, it's fine. Really windy conditions, who knows what's going to happen.
Any other questions?
It's not so much a question, I think, as a comment. People always wonder why government costs so much, and repairing a street light costs us $250,000. That's why it costs so much to get things done anymore.
Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Cooper, Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams, York,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries.
11C is a resolution approving an easement for an electric facilities installation. Move to dispense reading, ask for your approval. Need a second.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Butler,
Yes.
Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams, York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries.
11D is a resolution amending the contract for bid 723-2023 miscellaneous concrete improvements. Move to dispense reading, ask for your approval. Need a second, please.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate? Yes, Vice Mayor.
I think there's a typo.
I'm sorry, there was a corrected
We
one
didn't get it
sent
in
out
the
in your
packet.
Dropbox.
Okay.
Sorry, we did send it, but once we realized we sent an update.
This
Miss
didn't get
Spelling
put in the
otherwise.
council packet. I apologize.
Any further discussion or debate? Roll call vote, please.
Alderman Wilson, Wands,
Yes.
Bouchard,
Yes.
O'Kane,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Hoare,
Yes.
Streebing,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Williams, York,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Butler,
Yes.
12 yes.
12 yes, the motion carries.
11E, items of information.
Yep, the only thing we have, looks like, Mr. Cronk has something as well, but just, I wanted to announce that yardway stickers are in and on sale now. There will be a press release coming out tomorrow, but, just wanted to announce that publicly as well.
Yeah, and to let you all know, it's been a little bit that you've heard about the new housing rehabilitation grant funding that we were awarded. I actually had the final webinar with Ida today to get our final policies and procedures nailed down. I'm going to rush as fast as I can to put together a program policy, an application, and everything, all the other guidelines. We'll let the city council know about those as soon as they're produced, which I suspect will be next week, I hope. But this is more of a public service announcement that we will need housing contractors to perform this program. I'm going to ask again, I'm going to keep posting it publicly. If you are a contractor, please contact the Public Works Building. Well, no, they can get registered with us. You must get registered. We are going to be putting together a pool of contractors. These aren't publicly bid items. They're qualified contractors that we vet, and each project goes out to that select group of contractors. So if you're a contractor, we need you. Get a hold of us, and I'll keep saying it for the weeks on end here.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
So that I can answer whatever phone call I might get first thing tomorrow morning.
Yep.
When do you anticipate that you might actually be taking applications for this? Because when this came up last time, I got a phone call while I was in the shower the next morning.
Me too. I've been getting them every day since. Yeah, so this is really optimistic. I want to be releasing applications by February 1. Now, there's a mandatory software that I have to have set up from Ida. So that's pushing it. You know how software
So let's tell folks February 15th.
Yes, that's pushing it. Just if I can get it, it'd be a miracle. But yeah, let's
Right.
call it February.
Okay. I will say the 15th at best.
Alderman York.
And how do you define a qualified contractor?
We'll determine that.
Okay, that will be
Yeah,
determined.
they're in the packet. They're going to release after the webinar held today. They're going to give insurance requirements, workers' comp, things like that. So get a hold of us and we'll figure that out together.
And will the contractor, does he give you a bid, or do y'all set the cost for each item that has to be done to the home?
Are you asking if the bid, or we'll call them proposals, are itemized?
Yeah.
Yeah. So They will be itemized per the IDA regulations, and the contractor will have to provide that on their proposal.
That sounds like a community action deal where they set the prices and we contracted to do the work. What if the contractor does not agree to that, because of material costs?
So just a general summary of the process is a part of that mandatory software is it's a cost estimating software to make sure the bids are fair. That gets submitted to IDA along with however many bids or proposals we receive. So they're going to be bidding against each other, and we will be comparing those to the cost estimate provided through technology, which takes averages from our region, our local region. So they will be close to our cost estimates, or we cannot accept the bid.
Anyone else? Okay, that's it, Mayor. Lose a report.
Thank you, Chairman. This time we'll receive our Public Services Committee report. Chairman Strebe.
Good evening, everybody. Put this to item information. We will meet here Tuesday, January 23rd, 6 p.m., right here in these chambers.
You're really gonna meet this month?
Yeah, we're gonna meet this month, believe it or not. One
Excuse
time,
me.
I think.
Chairman, we have the treasurer's report also.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes. I was gonna ask if anybody else from the Public Service Committee had any items of information. And if not, then we'll hear from Treasurer Chris Herron on his Treasurer's report.
Good evening. Wanted to give an update on our bank reconciliation, which is a main priority for the city for our general account. I'd like to remind you that we engaged Martin Hood about 3 months ago for with a budget of about $70,000. We have paid roughly $25,000 as of right now in these first 3 months. Their progress has moved the needle, and where they are at right now is they are working on February of 2023, reconciling February of 2023, with under the understanding that each month back to July of 22 are still open with small items that our finance team and Comptroller Massey have continuously, graciously provided their service to assist Martin Hood in getting those final details closed up so those final months or those past months can be closed up. So there is a lot of progress there. All the other accounts are being worked on, being reconciled internally with a lot of, movement there also. Secondly, I'd like to mention the payroll taxes for the pensions. We've been working with the IRS for a few months now, and there were a lot of, this was also a legacy problem. There were a lot of forms that had not been filed from 2021 and 2022. There were past taxes that had to be paid. There were penalties. There was interest that had to be paid. So as far as the fire goes, we've made payments of roughly $77,000 in back taxes, penalties, and interest for 21 and 22. And for police, we've made payments of $81,000 of back taxes, penalties, and interest. All the forms are completed, except that I was notified today, again, this has been a long process, but we are in good conversation with the IRS on this. And I was notified again today that we just need to do a little bit more updating on some of the forms that we have submitted that just aren't completely done. Might be small technical things, but the bottom line is the money has all been paid. There's not going to be any more penalty. There's not going to be any more interest. So that was a win. We also had our pension quarterly board meetings on January 9th. And I always like to report that our financials and the payrolls and the accounts payables were approved on both of the boards for fire and pension. So we felt good about that. We've updated the tax tables for 2024, so the proper withholding will be taken out of each check for the pensioners. And the reason why I bring that up is, again, this was sort of a legacy issue, and thankfully the finance department let us know ahead of time that this is something that has to be done. I guess apparently at one time it had not been done for 3 years. And so that's what caused a huge problem and backlog when the former treasurer, Kareth, came in, and she tried to fix that problem and did a great job doing it. But thankfully, Comptroller Massey told us about it, so we were able to do this ahead of time so we don't have any problem, and everything as of right now is updated. And now we're working on our 1099s, and we'll be getting those out very shortly.
Thank you, Mr. Harris.
Questions?
Yeah, I'm just glad you got elected.
Yeah.
Still a learning curve.
Well, I kind of knew ahead of time there was a mess in there, so I knew what you were getting yourself into. And I'd like to thank you and working with the other department on getting all this caught up and getting it done. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome, and I'd always like to thank the finance department. It's wonderful. They're a wonderful team to work with, and we have a great relationship.
Yes, go ahead.
I have two questions. One, I'm just curious, did we attempt to get the penalties and interest abated?
Yes, so I'm hoping to give that in my next report, that we've gotten, set amount of money back from both. So one of the problems was they were filed incorrectly. So I know, and the IRS knows, that a little bit of this has been paid a second time, just because they were filed incorrectly. So if you make a payment in 22 that states that it's made for 22, but was supposed to be made for 21, they can't take it for 21. So we have written all of our letters, and we've been in contact, like I said, and I do think we will have some sort of a refund, and I hope to report that we will at some point. I don't want to give a number, but I have a kind of number in my head that I'm hoping that both those boards will get back a little bit.
My second question is, are there changes administratively, procedurally, to put checks and balances in place to make sure that this never happens again?
Not that I'm aware of. The mayor and I have talked about a few things, and I know the pension boards are a little bit concerned, and so it's definitely something that is a great point, and definitely has to be done, absolutely, for sure. I couldn't agree more.
Okay.
Vice Mayor, my hope is that one day the treasurer will be able to share with you his thoughts on how we best move forward as a community. But the difficulty is the individual is an independently elected person, just with the same authority investments as me. And so despite the fact that our chairman, we're all over Treasurer Wilson to stay on top of things, it just didn't happen.
I think there's the staying on top of things or lack thereof, but then I also think that there's some awareness of what's not being done, and when you have checks and balances in place, you're not blindsided by what's not being done and the risk that is associated with the lack of filings and other things that happen. So it's not, and I get that, okay, there's not a lot of control that someone might have over a specific position. However, there is, if there are at minimum checks and balances in place to see if there's problems, then those problems can be brought to the forefront much quicker, because the fact that something hasn't been filed since 2021, and for most of us, this is the first time we've heard about it, that's a problem. Even if the person isn't doing what they're supposed to do, at least there could be pressure being put on the person to say, well, what about this and what about that, and ask very specific questions. Because the only thing that, from my knowledge, and I come to most city council meetings, that we just weren't seeing were reports and specifically bank reconciliations, because we knew about that. This is very new information probably to most of us. And so I would love to be able to say, yes, these are the things that should always be coming out of the treasurer's office. And if you don't see these things, then this is a problem, because our current treasurer, I think I could say this, acts with integrity and wants to be able to provide his reports and his information with excellence. He can set the standard on what that can look like in the future for whomever his successor may be, for how, because you can decide, I don't want to do this anymore. This is a lot of work, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you put everything in place and you set the standard, then we follow that standard.
Yeah.
I can tell you that they have been in the process of putting in, Kareth already started this when she was here, of putting processes and procedures in place. And then I know that Treasurer Heron and his assistant have been as well. And my understanding that they will, once they've got all of their manual completed, provide that for us also.
The boards are concerned because in their perspective, they have one person. In the past, they've always had one person sitting in that office, that there is no checks and balance. There's an elected official and there's not a city employee in there. Now we have an intern, a finance intern in there. It still doesn't meet what you're talking about, and we all agree upon that. It's just how we're going to move forward from that. And I think Ashley Massey would like to comment on that, if we could give her a second too.
Yeah. Just to add a little more context and clarification. So these were pension payroll forms that were not filed. They were not city payroll forms that were not filed. But I've attended every pension meeting that I can attend since May of 2022. And the check and balance is the pension boards. That is why these individuals sit on the pension board. It is their job to keep the treasurer accountable for their functions in the bank account and doing the bank rec. And we've talked a lot about at meetings, you as a pension board member should be looking for, this is your list of things. You should never approve your treasurer's report without a bank statement attached. Anyone can put anything in an Excel file and print it off and tell you that this is what happened in the last month or quarter. You must have your bank account. And then Treasurer Heron is working on getting them view-only access to the online banking. So then you can even know, I can go into the portal because this PDF could have been manipulated. I mean, that's easy to do. So just he doesn't give himself enough credit. There are things being put in place, like the view-only access for the bank accounts, but there is a check and balance, and they just need to actually be checking on the items that are happening, and they know that now. I think that the boards are well informed after the last 2 years of what they should be doing. So I guess I just wanted to add a little bit of clarification. It's not that there's not, but there is certainly potential pitfalls with the structure of how that treasurer's office is statutorily given authority, and what authority you all have with that individual if things were to go wrong. I hope that helps.
Alderman Butler.
Yes, I know it's kind of expensive. I've heard the cost of an auditor. All of the organizations that I'm in, every quarter we have an audit to make sure that our secretaries and the vouchers and everything is in order, and receivable accounts is checks and balance. How often do we get audited? I mean, once a year, twice
Every
a
year.
Every year.
We're required, because we're federal grantees over $750,000. We're required to have an entire financial statement audit as well as a single audit.
What
for
about
specific programs?
What about the pensions?
Yeah.
The pensions go through it every year.
Okay.
And so it's just once a year.
Yeah. Well, so to clarify, an audit is reviewing to say, are your financial statements accurately representing your financial situation that you present, right? So are you as wealthy or broke as you say you are? It does not in any way keep accountable for timeliness, which is the big issue, right? We could still put in our financial system, we paid $25 to payroll tax, check, doesn't mean we went and filed the form with the IRS. So that's the issue. There's a timeliness issue. I can get into the accounting system and put in a journal entry for May of 2019 right now. I mean, that cause issues, but it can be done if you have the appropriate permissions. So those are the issues that occurred that are causing problems that we're cleaning up now. That Mr. Heron is working very, very hard, which I think we're to the end. Like, surely we're almost done.
And see, I will tell you this, the previous treasurer, I was on her hard and heavy because we weren't getting reports in a timely fashion. And sometimes it was 5 and 6 months. So she'd throw us a bone.
We were 10 months behind.
She'd throw us a bone and say this was it. Okay. The time you look at it and get back to her in a week, 10 days. Well, when she comes up and she has, I don't, can't remember now if it was $100,000 there was a problem with. And I said, wait a minute. It took you this long to figure this out and find this out. And you made the mistake. And it's taking you 4 months to bring it back to the council. I said, that's absolutely wrong. Well, when I come down hard on her, I didn't get any paperwork any quicker after that. And of course, then we had finance where the gal left and somebody else come in and nobody knew what the other hand was doing, believe me. And the gal we had in there at the time, she really didn't know what was going on. So by me pushing her, and I pushed her and she created things and that wasn't true. I knew there was a problem in that office, but our hands are tied because it's elected position. There's only so much we can do. So.
And to be clear, this was not Ms. Klewicki. This was her predecessor.
Yes.
Yeah, because I kind of think, that, you know, that we keep saying that there wasn't anything that we could do there, but we could have called for an audit.
You could have, but the problem with that, the problem with
she was on cue.
The problem with that would have been, you just had another individual come in finance, and we had one leave, and they didn't have a clue what was going over in the other office. I mean, they were trying to help and do things, but it was just too far gone.
I would also add that to the point that Ashlyn made earlier. An audit is not going to find issues with the IRS.
No.
Nope. There is only an IRS audit would find that.
Yeah. Right.
And the IRS starts those audits. Nobody can request an IRS audit. My dad was an auditor for 45 years. So the only way that you're going to uncover issues as relates to the IRS is two ways. One is that somebody is looking, and two is that somebody is actually receiving the mail when the IRS sends you a letter that says, hey, you owe us money.
Right.
And those letters typically take at least a year before they start to show up.
That's how I found out.
Exactly.
It was just a couple months ago. Yep, exactly right.
So if you have an issue with somebody not filing their paperwork with the IRS, and not just the IRS, because if they're not filing with the IRS, then they're probably not also filing with the Illinois Department of Revenue. Yeah. So it's because of a phone call or a letter from Illinois Department of Revenue or the Internal Revenue Service that those things get discovered. So those things can be hidden for a very long time. I've been through the cleanup, so I know what this is like. I've written the letters for requesting abatement. I called my dad when he was at the IRS asking what to do. So I know exactly what he's having to go through to do this, but it's not something that's going to be discovered from an audit, because an audit is only looking at your books. And anybody can cook the books if they know what they're doing.
Which, further clarification, I don't think books were cooked. They were just in the slow cooker. They took a long time to get done, and you can't audit transactions that aren't there.
Yep.
And our different offices have different responsibilities of what we record and what we're responsible for. And so I just want to further clarify that. Also, another point of clarification, financial statement audits are... There's a common misconception that every transaction is reviewed. This is not the case. Samplings are taken. It's good. Their samples are looked at. They typically pick a month that they go through in detail, and they pull different items to make sure that they don't find any issues of materiality, which for federal programs is $1, just so you know. But I just don't want anyone to think, oh, well, we had an audit, so every single transaction was reviewed. No, that's why you have internal controls. That's why you have processes in place. That's why no journal entry can be put in the system without multiple approvals now. The treasurer's office now has been very gracious. he technically does not need anyone in the city's permission to record anything in the accounting system for the pensions, right? That's his statutory authority. But our accounting system has no way of just under pensions letting him do that. So because I pushed for it, I put approvals on his pension journals just so we don't have any ability for anyone to do anything without multiple approvals. Even though I have no authority over his pension books, those are all of his purview. So, yeah.
And I just want to add, I think the best thing that you'd ever get out of an audit is maybe a finding that there aren't internal controls.
Right, and we had that.
And we've had that.
Last several years.
Yeah, last several years.
For 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's some scary stuff. You know,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sorry, I'm very chatty this evening. One more thing is that another reason after the transitions in the treasurer's office, I think I've mentioned this before, but prior bank reconciliations were being done in Excel outside of the accounting system, because when they went live with the accounting system in 2017 or somewhere around there, for whatever reason, we didn't start doing bank rec in the accounting system. That is now not the case. Your bank reconciliations are being done in the accounting system that we paid for to do that. So there's no potential fat fingering that can happen in Excel. The system's not going to lie to you. That's why it was designed to do for governments. So the treasurer's office has been working very hard on that, and that's what Martin Hood has been assisting with, and are currently done through June of 2022. Posted, completed. Our audit for 22 is done, but is made significant progress through, you just said February of 23. So it's moving right along at this point.
I actually have another question, which is, when Martin Hood started, where were we? Because I'm just looking for context.
June of 22.
So we were at June of 22. So they moved us from June of 22 to February of 23 in the 3 months that they've been providing assistance.
So part of the separation of duties is that the finance department, my office, is supposed to be responsible for recording transactions. The treasurer's office is responsible for bank reconciliations, right, to make sure what we're recording is accurate. That is an internal control. However, if bank recs continue to be a delay, there's a snowball of consequences. All the way down the line, the big one is if you don't have your comprehensive annual financial statement provided to the state and federal government by a certain date, you can get put on the state stop pay list, which means we would not receive any of our state tax revenue if we are put on the stop pay list. That is very bad. That is like 90% of our general fund revenue. So that internal control, albeit became less important than getting the bank rec done. So then the finance department stepped in and got the bank rec caught up to June of 2022, which is what we needed to get it done to close our fiscal year 22 audit, so we could get the GATA cipher completed so we can remain off the state stop pay list. That's where we're at. Bank recs have been handed back to the treasurer's office where they should be. They contracted with Martin Hood and are getting fiscal year 23 about to be closed.
And then are we just doing, like, are we doing current while doing backlog, or are we just trying to continually play catch up?
You have to reconcile in order, but we're obviously, the finance department has been recording transactions all along, right? You're getting your schedule of vouchers payable, you're getting your payroll, we're doing our monthly journal entries, like that hasn't stopped, but there can be occasional things, the purpose of bank rec, if something were to get missed, right? So if we order deposit tickets, they charge us automatically off our bank statement. That may be a transaction that, because it's a one-off and doesn't have like an informal process other than the treasurer saying, hey, can we have more deposit tickets, please? That's a transaction that typically comes up in bank rec. I mean, sometimes we remember and we record it, but sometimes we don't. That's the purpose of bank rec. But all the big things are automatically recorded because of our accounting system, right? Like the process of invoicing a check, cutting a check, providing it to you on the schedule of vouchers payable automatically records it in the general ledger. That can't be missed just by the nature of how our software works.
No, it was just a understanding of when we say we're caught up through February of 23, and I know Mr. Heron has been in office for, since then. Did we start start doing reconciliations as soon as he walked in the door or shortly thereafter? Or do we have to go from February 23 all the way through present?
Correct. There's no way to not do that in chronological order.
Okay.
Because if you have a difference in February of 23, that carries over into March of 23.
Yep.
You
Okay.
can't open months out of order.
Okay. That provides context. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Any other items, Chairman?
No, I do have a question, if I could, and it has nothing to do with any of this, but in my
Yes, sir.
report.
Yes,
Um,
Cole.
I would like legal to look into, because I know the dog pound that are supposed to be taking care of our animals now, I think the last couple months, hasn't been taking anything. Due to the fact, I just want you to look into it and give us a report next week on if we're paying them the full month's salary for our contract, or do we have something in there that we don't have to pay for?
Chairman, I think we've been generally paid based on intake, like a per animal fee. But I'll have, Corporation Counsel will verify that for us.
Thank you.
And then a boarding fee once they're in there.
Yes,
So
I-
if we might still have some in there that are ours,
Okay.
but they aren't taking any new yet because of the sickness.
I
Chairman.
know we had a fire the other night, and there was a problem arose because they refused. They said they wouldn't take the animals, so. Just letting you know that.
Thanks, Chairman. Thank you for your report, Chairman. Yes, Chairman. Thorne.
Question on the new law that went into effect January 1 concerning earned time for part-time and full-time employees. Every 40 hours, you earn 1 hour of time up to 40 hours a year. Does that affect government employees?
Yes.
So do the union contracts have to be reopened to put that language in them?
No, because this doesn't really apply to our union employees because what we already offer for their various versions of PTO is better than that. This is the minimum. So this basically the only changes we're really seeing on the city side is for our seasonal, temporary, part-time employees who don't otherwise earn ETL or vacation time.
Right.
But because we already offer ETL that exceeds that minimum, there's no changes for them.
Okay. That's my
Chairman.
questions going around.
Right, you'll be glad to know any other items of information for the good of the cause. You'll be glad to know we do not have need of closed session. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Be safe out there. It's still pretty cold, folks.